an investment in knowledge, pay the best interest. Good morning, Chit Chats! We welcome you to the number one and the greatest talk show in town.
The morning virtual chit chat.
I am Anjus Rilvian C. Abo.
And I am Raven Jane C. Basurdo, your hosts for today. Hi Anne, how are you today?
I woke up great this morning, Raven, as I heard our topic for today.
Yes, I believe our chit chat will be fantastic for our audience, especially to our youth. It is very helpful for them. How about you introduce our topic this morning, Anne?
Yes, Raven. As a human being, reproduction is an essential process to create and multiply humankind. As we start our virtual chit chat this morning, we would like to talk about the importance of sexuality and the human reproduction of each individual.
I agree. In fact, we invited some professional guests who can share their knowledge upon us and to all of our audience who are watching and listening at their homes.
But before that, Raven, in order for our audience to have knowledge about our topic for today, we would like to show you a video tape from excellent students of Nursing Tagum Doctors College about the human sexuality and its moral evaluation for our introduction.
Roll VTR!
Human sexuality is the way in which we experience and express ourselves as sexual beings. There are many factors that help develop our sexuality. Arguably, one of the most important is our actual gender. Whether I am a male or female will likely have a major influence on the development of my individual sexuality. Furthermore, sexuality is an integral part of our personalities whether we are aware of it or not. Human sexuality is a very complex behavior that is affected by many phases of our lives, including our physiology, cognition, and learning. These are just a few of the components that is favorite focused on for the sake of brevity. Otherwise, many other factors could have been discussed such as the culture, personal and general history, and the humanistic perspective. The point here is that human sexuality, like us, is multidimensional and one can only begin to get a sense of what it is by the inclusion of many perspectives and ideas. However, one particular point that this paper would like to get across to the reader is that it is a motivating factor. This is a bit oversimplified, but it seems that so much of what we do day in, day out as humans is in some way or another governed by our sexual self. While this makes us similar as humans, it is not necessarily the case that we condone the same behavior or have overlapping norms from culture to culture. Thus, within this similarity, there is still a great deal of diversity.
Hi everyone, I'm Mikala Juliana Arcabanya and I'm going to explain the distorted sexuality. So, the nature of sex has dignity and goodness, and sex is the unity of personality, and sex needs marriage. However, if sex occurs beyond what is God's creational design for sex, it would be fallen into the distorted sexuality such as homosexuality, sexual eccentricity, and pornography. So what is homosexuality? It refers to sexual relations, either over or fantasied, between persons of the same sex. Next will be sexual eccentricity and distortions. If sexuality is not normal, it would be sexual eccentricity and distortion. Normal sexuality or number one, sexuality is interwoven with the total character development of a person. Second, sexuality is a biologically rooted drive toward personal communion. Third, sexuality is a movement toward heterosexual relations that are climaxed in a committed, loving, and permanent union. Any sexual eccentricity that aborts any of these or is continuously substituted for them is at least the beginning of distortion, such as fetishism, masochism, sadism, transvestism, and transsexuality. First, fetishism is that some people are sexually aroused by things that have nothing to do with sex. Things like shoes, gloves, a piece of rubber, or some soft silky cloth can stimulate some people. These things are called fetishes. Second, masochism involves receiving pleasure from pain. Third, sadism is sexual gratification gained through causing physical and psychological pain and humiliation. Fourth, transvestism is to wear the clothes and mimic the manners of the opposite sex. And lastly, transsexuality is that a person feel like and want to be the other sex. So next will be pornography. Pornography is harmful because it makes sex trivial, uninteresting, and dull. Also, children cannot grow in love if they are trained with pornography. Pornography is loveless. It degrades the human being, reduces him to the level of animal. The worst thing that can happen to sex now is to empty it of its mystery, wonder, and longing.
That's a wonderful presentation from our future health professionals. I believe you students can be great nurses someday.
Yes, they are very insightful about our topic. And it's very good to know that our youth are aware and open-minded about sexuality and human reproduction.
So let's move on for our first topic this morning, talking about the importance of sexuality and human reproduction. This wouldn't be complete unless we tackle the most beautiful moment could everyone have in their life. With the right person and in the right time, the marriage.
Help us introduce our beautiful and most stunning guest. She is the 2020 Power Couples Counseling Philippines awardee, Top 10 Marriage Counseling Blog for 2021, and the 2022 AAMFT awardee. An honor to introduce to you one of the greatest marriage counselor of the Philippines, Miss Alona Padillo. Round of applause, please.
Good day, Miss Alona. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. How are you today?
Thank you, everyone. Good day as well, Miss Raven, Miss Anne. Thank you for asking. I am definitely doing good today. It's such an honor to be one of your guests in this virtual chit-chat.
Miss Padillo, marriage has been controversial nowadays, notably in social media. So, what is your insight regarding this marriage?
Okay, everyone wants a happy marriage, right? And happy marriages are very good. However, happiness is not what makes marriage most beautiful. As we all know by its definition, marriage is one of the universal social institutions. It is established by the human society to control and regulate the sex life of humans. It is closely connected with institution of family.
So here is another question. Why marriage is a moral issue?
Marriages makes morally special. It is because many ethicists agree that getting married generates special moral obligations that one not otherwise have. It makes some actions required that would otherwise not be. For example, sacrificing something for your partner's sake and make some actions wrong that would otherwise not be. For example, having sex with a non-partner. But what explains the fact that when two people marry, new moral obligations are created?
Yes, we all know that if we enter the field of marriage, we cannot avoid problems, right? That we can cause separation or divorce. But what if divorce will be legalized in the Philippines? Do you agree or disagree on it, Miss Padillo, and why?
Oh, there are a lot of things we should consider, but I think divorce should be an option. If you as a couple do not want to consider divorce in your marriage, you don't have to. Legalizing divorce does not threaten harmonious families. People who are happy and content within their marriages will not suddenly rush to get one just because it is available. If you worry that your spouse will divorce you the moment it becomes legal, then you have much more important things to worry about in your relationship. It can, however, save the lives of many victims of domestic violence, mostly women, and allow people to determine their own lives.
Oh, what a lovely answer of yours. Here's another question again. What are the characteristics of marriage?
Okay, I'll make it simple so everyone could understand. First, marriage is a universal social institution. Second, marriage is a permanent bond between husband and wife. Third, marriage establishes family. court, marriage is always associated with some civil and religious ceremony. Fifth, marriage regulates sex relationship according to prescribed customs and laws. And lastly, marriage has a certain symbols like ring, vermilion, special pots, special sign before the house, and etc.
Thank you so much for your time, Miss Alona. We really learned a lot today regarding marriage.
To all our viewers out there, I would like to say that marriage is all about love, trust, commitment, loyalty, communication, and understanding. However, a successful marriage requires individual efforts from both sides.
I agree with you, Anne. I hope we bring you some wisdom about marriage that will give you an insight into your marriage soon to be, or for those who are already a married couple. So before we get to our next topic about sex outside marriage and homosexuality, let's take a short break and we will come back.
Happiness can exist only in acceptance. And we are back, everyone! For our next topic, we will be talking about the rampant issue on sex outside marriage and homosexuality of our social nowadays.
And for our guests today, they are the much requested guests of our audience that would share to us their knowledge and apprehension about these issues. The first one to talk about homosexuality, one of the LGBTQIA+ speaker of the National Press Secretary for the Human Rights Campaign, Miss Jane Arcilia.
And the speaker who will discuss about sex outside marriage, a communications and relationship expert, the media personality, and a keynote speaker, Miss Ray Ava. Round of applause, please. Good morning, ladies!
Good morning.
I would like to ask Miss Jane first, what is homosexuality?
So, homosexuality refers to attraction between people who are the same sex. This is a sexual orientation as opposed to a gender identity such as male, female, and non-binary. People who are homosexual could refer to themselves as LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning.
Is homosexual accepted in your society?
Basically, you can be yourself but not that easy.
Why?
Because it has a limitation. Being homosexual is not wrong, but doing a homosexual act, especially the same-sex marriage, is basically a wrong act because the institution of marriage was first defined in the context of religion.
Where is the gender equality there when they cannot accept them?
We have equality for them. That is why we have a law for anti-discriminations, which is the Section 3 of Republic Act 9710, otherwise known as the Magna Carta of Women. MCW provides that all individuals are equal as human beings by virtue of the inherent dignity of each human person. So no one should therefore suffer discriminations on the basis of ethnicity, gender, age, language, sexual orientations, race, color, religion, political or other opinion established by human rights standards.
So moving on, since we are talking about sexuality, Miss Ray, for our audience, especially the youth, for their education, what is the importance of sex in human being?
Well, the practice of sex is significant in every human being, for it brings out biological reproduction in this world. This is the process where to reproduce or multiply humans.
We all know that nowadays, premarital sex or sex outside marriage is very rampant, right? So what is your opinion about it?
Well, according to one philosopher, Carl Wellman, in his book, Morals and Ethics in 1975, sex before marriage, or as he termed it as a premarital sex, it can be morally acceptable as long as the couple have mutual consent, they have the desire to practice it accessibly in a complete private place, that the pleasure of the sex act is not totally wrong. However, when we talk about sex outside marriage, in the eyes of majority and also especially in the eyes of religion, it is morally wrong. For sex is only permitted for couples after the marriage. That's why in our society, sex before marriage is forbidden because it is like we break the principles we are taught to. And it is like unethical for the views of society and the eyes of God. But these issues of sex outside marriage is still debatable until now.
Do you recommend sex outside marriage to people, especially the youth?
Well, it's not that I recommend sex outside marriage, especially to the young ones. However, it is a need to practice safe sex. We cannot prevent people to do a considerable human need, but we can promote education to a safety sexual act. In that way, there would be lesser issues or cases that can lead to the absence of worse scenario, just like the increase of teenage pregnancy. Furthermore, I am not recommending practicing premarital sex if you cannot protect your own personal morality. It is your duty to be responsible enough to think morally and face the consequences of those actions.
Yes, I agree. How about for the sex outside marriage? Miss Ray, what are the effects on our society and to the future generation?
In society or in the standards nowadays, having sex while not getting married is a serious issue in our society these days. The biggest disadvantage of having premarital sex is that more often it is not safe. Unwanted teenage pregnancy, abortion, HIV or AIDS, mental health problems are the common impacts of premarital sex. However, when we talk about today's generation and today's society, we cannot deny the rampant cases of sex outside marriage, right? So there's one thing that I can advise to all of you. Have a safe sex.
That was a wonderful talk from two amazing speakers. Thank you, Miss Jane Arcela and Miss Ray Alba, for your delighted presence here today on our virtual talk show. I hope our audience and our viewers out there are learned a lot from you and your great words.
In speaking of safe sex, for our last topic this morning chit chat, we will be talking about the issues on the contraception, its morality, and the ethical moral responsibilities of nurses. We may not talk one-on-one with our guest speakers here virtually, but we are glad because they willingly share their knowledge about our topic via video presentation.
With our most compassionate and respected nurses from Tagum Doctors College. Roll VTR.
About 85 million pregnancies in the world were unplanned. Every year, more than million STDs are acquired. More and more people are becoming poor. Children are not sent to school and not fed properly. Let's plan ahead to secure a healthy future. Use a contraceptives.
This is a condom. It is a contraceptive. Using condom is a reliable method to prevent unplanned pregnancies and STDs. It will stop the sperms from entering the female human body and helps to prevent the spread of body fluid.
These are birth control pills. These are medications that a woman can take daily. Contains hormones to prevent pregnancies. Spermicides is inserted vaginally before intercourse. It is a contraceptive substance that destroys sperms that enter the female body.
Aside from condoms, birth control pills, spermicides, there are other methods to prevent unplanned pregnancies. Unplanned pregnancies can be a burden, so plan with your man while you can.
If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
In this episode of our virtual chit chat, I hope we're bringing you some wisdom and awareness about our topic for today, the sexuality and human reproduction.
Thank you so much to our guest speakers who gladly accepted our invites to share their knowledge and insights to all of us, especially to our audience.
At this moment, saying goodbye for today's episode of Virtual Chit Chat Society. This is your host, I'm just Rian C. Albo.
And I am Raven Jane C. Basurdo. On the next episode.
Until on the next episode. Bye!